Hello, my name is Navinder. My roll number is 1903028. I belong to the PGP BM 2019-21 batch. The problem I've taken today is the Indian economic crisis 1991. And firstly, I'll walk you through the causes for this crisis and then how the government tried to address it and what are the challenges faced by the government when it tries to implement certain measures to address this problem. So coming to the causes, let's look into the international causes. Firstly, it was the import bill. The war between Iraq and Kuwait in 1990 was one of the major reasons for the huge pile-up of import bill on India. Because of this war, the oil prices shot up, and India was highly dependent on oil as an energy resource. Because of the price rise and the huge import volume, there was a crazy amount of import bill on India. And when it comes to export, India suffered a great loss during this point of time because that was the point of time in which Soviet Union disintegrated. Previous to this, India's export volume was 25% to 25% of all exports to Soviet Union. But then after the disintegration, the export volume reduced, and now there's huge import bill on India and also reduction in export, which led to the widening gap of balance of payments. And we all know that when there's a widening of balance of payments, there are other problems that come with it, like inflation and price rise, and many more which we'll look into in the coming sections. And the third problem was the global recession, which happened in 1990, and almost every other country was going through a global slowdown. So India was no exception to this. So in addition to the pressures of the balance of payments, India also had to, India also went through this slowdown. So these were the three major international reasons as such. But what was the intrinsic root causes for India that led to the pile-up of this crisis? One is the political instability, which I see as a huge impact because almost like 3 prime ministers were changed during a very short span of time, and the political instability was a sign of economic weak policy making as well. There was a lack of consistency, there's lack of will and lack of consensus between governments. So all this led to a weak investor confidence on India because there's changing political conditions. And second is the heavy involvement in the socialistic commitment. What happened, this actually been since the second 5-year plan, and also known as the Mahalanobis strategy. Mahalanobis is basically an economist from India who collaborated with an economist from Soviet Union called Feldman, and then they formed this strategy which involved something called the ISI, which is the import substitution industrialization. Drawing parallels from today's economic policies, it is very similar to what is called as the Make in India. So what they try to do is whatever they imported, at that point of time they try to produce it within India, within the country itself. So that was the movement, and what this led was heavy investment in industrial growth, and because India was already backing was lacking in all these industrial equipments and machinery, it had to borrow a lot of money to set this up. So this borrowing led to a huge fiscal deficit. This is pressure on fiscal balance now, and there's already widening of balance of payments, and which eventually led to inflation. Inflation majorly driven from the the shortage of supply part, because even though agricultural growth was there, the supply did not meet the demand, and so with the industrial output as well, the supply didn't meet the demand. So there was inflation around 20%. 20% is a huge amount for a country like India, which is developing at that point in time. And adding all these pressures one by one into the puzzle, India lost credibility from the World Bank and IMF in its capacity to repay the loans that it's actually borrowing right now. So the credit rating reduced, and the number of institutions that could lend money to India reduced, and the amount reduced probably, but with greater interest payments. So this also had a huge impact on the building up economic funds in the back end. And another major important reason is overvalued rupee. And India was previously, before the crisis, it was under the fixed what do you call fixed foreign exchange policy, and then later it went on to floating. And what happened is, because of this, the rupee depreciated, and because of reduction in reports, the rupee depreciated. So we have to devalue your currency so that you can increase your exports. So that was taken as a measure of devaluation of currency. And the last but not the least, one of the major reasons is the lack of performance of the PSUs. The public sector units had a lot of investment and capital coming in from the government. However, they did not make any profits. They were run under socialistic objectives to serve the people. So the objective was not to drive profits out of it, and hence the investments did not give any returns as such. So these were the major reasons listed domestically and internationally. Now we look at how the measures turned out to be. This was under the able administration of Narasimha Rao sir, and finance minister at that point of time was Dr. Manmohan Singh. Together formed this policy framework of LPG, which is liberalization, privatization, globalization. Liberalization basically, dilution of the MRTP Act, and maintaining tight, restrictions on the foreign exchange, control on foreign exchange basically, and a reduction in import tariffs. So these were a few measures which came under liberalization. Privatization is basically moving from the public sector to private, giving more freedom and sectors for the private to operate in. And globalization is basically getting involved with other countries and knowledge transfer and learning and many more, which involves the IT sector and the service sector boom because of globalization. So in the 8th, 5-year policy, which came under this LPG framework, the aim was to modernize industrial sector, and secondly to open the Indian economy, and thirdly to reduce poverty and increase employment. Did it succeed? Yes, it did. India grew from a target of 5.7 growth percentage to something 6.78, which was immense growth at that point of time when the other nations were not doing all that well. And not that an overall GDP, agriculture also grew from 3 to 4.8, but the gap between the growth rates of the service, industrial and the agriculture kept widening. So even though the agricultural output grew, it wasn't sufficient, is what experts say. So one of the major challenges was this, that agriculture didn't grow as much as industrial and service sector, which should have grown equally parallel in the parallel time frame. And evergreen problems that India has always faced is the corruption and poverty, and that existed, and that was a major challenge for government authorities to in policy framing and implementation. And one of the biggest problems was again lack of political will and consensus, which existed for quite a amount of time, even after 1991. Which served as impediments to bringing good policy frameworks. Yeah, so we have addressed all the agenda that we first established, so I guess India did face these problems by making appropriate policy measures and loosening the license Raj policies and implementing the right policy at the right point of time. Yeah.